नींद में हो क्या? आवाज नहीं आ रही है?
अरे
अरे फ्रेश।
भाई का शौक
टाइम चाहिए 5-10 मिनट, चाय वाय पी लो।
नहीं।
चलिए ठीक है, फिर शुरू करता है। टुडे इज द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक। मैं स्क्रीन शेयर करता हूँ एंड दिस इज अगेन अ क्वाइट सिंपल टॉपिक टू गो थ्रू। आपके ग्रेजुएशन में, बैचलर्स में दिस टॉपिक हैज बीन done on the enough number of times, so you should feel quite confident in this topic. तो हम लोग शुरू कर रहे हैं आज का टॉपिक where we understand how depreciation is calculated on your PPE. Now, depreciation basically होता क्या है? So depreciation is nothing but a normal wear and tear of your asset. It could be either because you use the asset, or even if you keep the asset ideal, there will be a normal wear and tear. A classic example is a car. कार को जनरली आप जितना कंटिन्यूअसली रन करोगे, the health will be better. But if the car is lying in the garage for a longer period of time, its value, its a shelf life goes down even though you are not using it. So it could be a physical depreciation where things are depreciated over a period of time, or it could be a functional depreciation where the things will get diminished because of its lack of the usage, or it's obsolete, or the demand goes down, or the value of the asset goes down. So in both the scenarios we have to apply the depreciation. Now, few more definitions before we start the calculations. Salvage value. Salvage value means a scrap value which you are expected to receive if the asset will be sold off in the future. So suppose you have purchased a car, let's say for $50,000, and you expect a resale value of the car of $5,000 at the end of the 5 years of useful life. So the salvage value becomes the $5,000. And lastly, estimated useful life. So this is the useful life over which the asset will be used in the business, either to generate the revenue or for the administrative purpose. So this is the overall useful life over which the asset will be depreciated. Again, a very, very basic fundas which should be there in your graduation. The most challenging topic in this is the impairment, which I will deep dive you in detail. But सबसे पहले to start with this chapter, there are a lot of depreciation calculations. So let's quickly go over there. Now, a small concept which may be there in your graduation, which may not be there, is a component depreciation. So what do you mean by component depreciation? So it may be possible that you have a one asset which has a various sub assets, and those various sub assets may have a different useful life. So it is called a component of a asset of a group asset. For example, let's continue with the example of a car. So when you purchase a car, you estimate that the physical life of the car is likely to be 5 years. However, the engine inside the car may only have a useful life of 3 years. So can you depreciate car separately for 5 years and engine separately for 3 years? Answer is yes. You can either provide a composite depreciation, a component depreciation, or a group depreciation. The best it fits for your business. Another example, you have purchased, let's say, a fully furnished office you have purchased. Now, the useful life of that particular property, let's say you estimate to be 20 years. However, the interior work and the furniture work, you only estimate a 5 years of useful life, after which you have to do a renovation. So, can you depreciate furniture and fixtures for 5 years and remaining office for 20 years? Answer is yes. So, if you feel that your asset, a group asset, has a lot of sub fixed assets, and sub fixed assets have a different useful life, so you can still depreciate sub fixed asset as per their remaining useful life. So what we are saying in theory, component depreciation is a separate depreciation for each part of the PPE. It is allowed under US GAAP. Also, a group depreciation. So if you don't want to do a separate depreciation and you just want to club them together, because office you are going to use ultimately as a one office space, so still you can combine them and treat one as a one asset, and you can depreciate over the 20 years of useful life. However, why component depreciation is helpful? Number one, it gives you a separate valuation for your purchase cost or depreciation. And when you sell the asset or retire the asset, you can easily identify that what was the depreciation component for this particular asset. So continuing with the same car example, let's say a car, you have a useful life of 5 years, engine has a useful life of 3 years. Now let's say at the end of the third year, engine actually got damaged and you are replacing the engine now. So if you are doing a component depreciation, so you know that what is the depreciation for the car and what is the depreciation for your engine. And you can remove the asset value of the engine from your balance sheet very easily. And you can add the new value of the engine in the balance sheet very easily. You have a clear distinction available of the sub assets which you are retiring. However, let's say you have depreciated entire car as a one unit only, and it is very difficult for you to split the value of car and split the value of the engine when the asset is retired and replaced with another asset. However, still you need to do a lot of mathematical calculation. So we will come when we go in detail of the asset retirement topic later in this chapter, and how a retirement needs to be accounted for. But to summarize, yes, you can have a different depreciation method for a sub part of your fixed assets. Maybe a building has a different part, furniture, electronics. You can have a component of the fixed asset and you can charge a separate depreciation on them. चलिए एक एग्जांपल देख लेते हैं. A very simple example. उसके बाद हम लोग methods पे जाते हैं. So suppose a schedule of machinery owned by a Leicester manufacturing company is as under. So you have a three machinery, machinery A, machinery B, and machinery C. And let's calculate a depreciation on a straight line method. Now depreciate the machinery using a composite depreciation. It means all the assets are treated separately. You are treating component of the group asset as a separate fixed assets. Or you may be asked to calculate a fixed asset based on the group depreciation. तो दोनों एक बार देख लेते हैं. So what will happen in case of group depreciation? What will happen in case of component depreciation? So if you are doing a component depreciation, then your calculations are pretty simple. You just have to do a three assets separately. So cost minus salvage value divided by useful life. So 550 minus 50 divided by 20, a depreciation for machine A. 2 lakh minus 20,000 divided by 15, depreciation for machine B. 40,000 minus 0 divided by 5, depreciation for machine C. So it's a component of depreciation. But if you are doing a composite depreciation or a group depreciation, and first of all, you have to come through an average useful life. Now, because let's say in our example, car has a 5 years life, engine has a 3 year life. So you cannot really say that 5 is my overall useful life. You may require a car to be replaced by fourth year. So first of all, you have to get to a average useful life. So how you come to an average useful life? You assume that what is the depreciable cost for your asset. So what is the depreciable cost? It's a cost minus salvage value. So for asset A, it's 550 minus 50 comes to 5 lakh. For asset B, 2 lakh minus 20,000, 180. For asset C, 40,000 minus 0, it's $40,000. So 7 lakh 20,000 is going to be your average depreciable cost. Now, if you depreciate them separately, what will be the annual depreciation? So it will be 45,000. So I can say that table number one right now, which is prepared here, this is a component depreciation calculation. Now, if you want to go for a group depreciation, you just need to get an average annual life of the entire group asset. So your average annual depreciation is 45,000. Your average depreciable asset has a cost of 7 lakh 20,000. So I can say that for entire 16 years, if I charge 45,000 per annum as a depreciation, my entire 7 lakh 20,000 of the asset will go off. So if I'm using a group depreciation, my useful life is 16 years and my total cost to be depreciated is 7 lakh 20,000. If I'm using a component depreciation, I have to calculate depreciation separately for each asset. A simple mathematical calculation. कोई भी डाउट यहाँ तक 2.2 सेक्शन तक?
No.
ठीक है, एक बार क्विकली 5 मिनट्स लगा के देख लो. देन वी आर गो थ्रू सेक्शन फॉर ओवरव्यू एंड दिस एग्जांपल. इसके बाद हम लोग अब मेथड्स पे जाते हैं, दैट हाउ अ डेप्रिसिएशन actually will be calculated for the various methods.
Okay.
ठीक है, चलिए अभी शुरू करते हैं. बेसिक मेथड ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन. फर्स्ट वन, अ वेरी सिंपल स्ट्रेट लाइन मेथड, यूनिवर्सली स्कूल टाइम से आती है. So what is the formula for straight line depreciation? It's cost minus salvage value divided by useful life. I'm skipping illustration one right now. It's a retirement. इसके ऊपर बाद में आएंगे हम लोग जब retirement हम complete करेंगे. So let's just see illustration number 2. Assume that asset has a cost of $11,000, salvage value of $1,000, and estimated useful life of 5 years. So formula is cost 11,000 minus salvage value 1,000 gives you a 10,000 divided by useful life of 5 years. So depreciation is $2,000 per year. ठीक है, very very simple mathematical calculation. कोई डाउट है स्ट्रेट लाइन में?
No.
चलिए, सेकंड मेथड है a sum of years digit depreciation. Now this depreciation is used in an industry where your asset is utilized a lot in the initial years and then slowing down in the later part of the year. So if you see the asset usage is a volatile, a lot of use is in the initial years and a slower use in the last year, you can go for a sum of years digit method. तो इसमें हम लोग क्या करते हैं? We sum the useful life of the fixed asset. For example, if your fixed asset has a useful life of 5 years, so what is the 5 year? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So total 15. Or let's say your useful life is 4 years. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is equal to 10. Or let's say it's a 3 year. 1 plus 2 plus 3, it's a 6. Now, how do we calculate mathematical depreciation? We say depreciation is equal to cost minus salvage into what is the remaining useful life of the asset divided by what is the sum of the year digits method. एक बार mathematics देखते हैं, then the things will be slightly easy to follow. Suppose there is a cost which has a basis of 11,000 and a salvage value of 1,000. So your cost minus salvage is a $10,000 which will be depreciated. A useful life is 4 years. So can I say the sum of your digit are 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is equal to 10. So at the end of the year one, now what is my formula? Cost minus salvage into remaining useful life divided by sum of years digits. So cost minus depreciation is 10,000. So my formula is 10,000 into what is my remaining useful life at the end of the first year divided by what is the sum of years digit method. So during the first year, I assume that my asset is going to be used for the 4 years. During the second year, I assume my asset is going to be used for the 3 year. During the third year, I assume my asset will be used for 2 years. And during the last year, fourth year, I assume my asset will be used for this particular single year. So my mathematical formula says it's $10,000 into what is the useful life of the asset including the current year? 4 divided by sum of years digits total, which is 10. So we are charging a 40% depreciation in the first year. What happens in the second year? You say my remaining useful life is year 3 plus year 4 plus year 2 including as well. So total 3 years. So 10,000 into 3 by 10, this comes to $3,000. We charge a 30% depreciation in year 2. What happens in year 3? We say that my asset will be used for year 3 plus year 4. So my formula is 10,000 into 2 divided by 10, which is $2,000. We charge a 20% depreciation and so on. So if you see a trend, we are charging a higher depreciation in the initial year, and it is keep on reducing at the lowest depreciation in the last year. Generally used in the industry where asset is having a huge wear and tear in the initial year, and the usage becomes slow and slow, and capacity keep on decreasing for the fixed asset. Again, a simple mathematical formula. कोई भी डाउट है सम ऑफ योर डिजिट्स मेथड में?
If we bought an asset in the middle of the year, then what would be the percentage?
Then you will do a pro rata basis. So for example, you have purchased the asset, let's say on the after 6 months. So for that particular year, you will do a 6/12 because asset is only used for the half of the year. Similarly, the last year you will have again asset used only for the half year, because agar useful life 5 years hai, so first year it's a 6 months used, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, 4 years fully used, and again year 6 it will be a 6 months usage. So in the last year, again, you will do a pro rata calculation. So in the accounting, whenever asset is used for the partial period, you will always adjust your depreciation for the period of its use. ठीक है, चले आगे सेकेंड मेथड के बाद. The third is your units of production method. Again, this is quite useful in the output industry base or even travel industry base. So suppose let's say you have a one taxi and you are running a travel industry, and you are checking how your taxi should be depreciated. So one is taking a straight line 5 years useful life. Another, you estimate that your car will run for 1 lakh kilometers. And then every year, let's say first year your car run for 8,000 kilometers. So you depreciate 8%. Second year your car run for 41,000 kilometers. You depreciate 41%. So units of production method says that your depreciation is directly linked to the output generated by your fixed asset. So higher the output, higher the depreciation, lower the output, lower the depreciation. So what is the formula says? The formula says again cost minus salvage divided by what is your useful usage of the fixed asset. So it can be estimated output, estimated hours, or estimated kilometers, how far your taxi will run. So you will get rate per unit, rate per hour, or rate per kilometer. And then based on the actual usage, you will calculate a depreciation. Simple example लेते हैं, आपकी बुक में example नहीं है. Suppose you have a car of 1 lakh, zero salvage value, and you assume the car will run for 1 lakh kilometer. So what is your rate? 1 lakh minus 0 divided by 1 lakh. So it's $1 per kilometer is your rate. Now let's say during the current year, you run your taxi for 41,000 kilometers. So how much depreciation? It's rate per kilometer 1 into number of kilometers you run, 41,000. So your depreciation expense is going to be $41,000. So again, a very basic, simple mathematical calculation based on the output or a productivity of the fixed asset. Clear hai? And then the fourth one is the declining balance depreciation. Now here the word is important, declining. अब तक की जो भी मेथड थी, we were giving the depreciation on cost minus salvage value, and every year we were charging the depreciation on the same basis. But when we say WDV method, which is a written down value method or a declining balance method, we charge the depreciation on the closing balance of the previous year and not on the base cost itself. So if we calculate first of all a basic depreciation, how it will run, just a hypothetical example. Let's say you have a one fixed asset which has purchased in year 1. Let's say your cost of asset is $20,000. Let's say your rate of depreciation is 20% on declining basis. So your depreciation is $4,000. So your closing balance comes to $16,000. In year 2, you will not charge depreciation on 20,000, which is your original cost. Rather, you will charge depreciation on your reducing balance, which is a closing balance of the last year. Then you get to a year 3, you do a same thing. Then you go to a year 4, you do a same thing till the time your asset is depreciated. So if you are taking a reducing balance as your basis, it is called a declining method or a written down value method. Now in your syllabus, you have a double declining method. So now what is the meaning of double declining method? You just simply double the depreciation. So I'm coming to example number 3, but before that, let's do a double declining here. What will happen? Your normal rate is 20%. If you want to a double decline, you just do multiply by 2. Same way, you multiply the depreciation by 2. So it's an accelerated method of depreciation where you are providing a more depreciation even what a normal calculation would give it to you. Generally, accounting US GAAP, people are not preferring to this, but income tax, this is only a method which IRS allows. And when we go to a regulation part, we'll understand modified cost accelerated system of depreciation where double declining method of depreciation is allowed for the tax purpose. So you first of all just simply calculate a depreciation, then multiply it by 2x to get a double depreciation. एक बार example देखते हैं, and again the things will be fine. And now this method can be changed. A 125% method of depreciation, 150% method of depreciation, 175% of depreciation. So just you have to calculate the base first and then double out a depreciation, or 125 or 175 times of depreciation. So suppose an asset is costing $10,000 with a salvage value. Now salvage value needs to be ignored because your asset will be depreciated either quicker or a slower, but it will not be exactly 10 years. So salvage value has to be ignored when you are calculating a WDV method or a declining method. Now what we are saying that your useful life is 10 years, so your normal rate of depreciation becomes a 10%. So year one, what is your normal depreciation? 10,000. Let's prepare the maths here. So let's prepare a maths here. So for year one, what is your base? It's $10,000. What is the rate of depreciation? 10%. So what is your WDV or a closing balance? 9,000. So this is a normal declining balance method calculation. But what you are doing here, 200% double declining method. So you just have to double out your depreciation. So what is the depreciation now? $2,000. Is it matching? Yes, $2,000 matching. Good to go. Year two, your base becomes $8,000. Same way, 10%, $800 normal depreciation. You do multiply by 2. So 1,600 is your depreciation. Your closing balance becomes 6,400. Is depreciation matching? Perfect. 1,600. It is matching. Going through a year 3. Going through the year 4. Let's just calculate all the formula. Let me just check everything is okay. I think somewhere okay, they have then stopped depreciating. Okay. So let's quickly check what is the depreciation. Year 1, 2,000, good to go. Year 2, 1,600, good to go. Year 3, 1,280, good to go. Year 4, 1,024, good to go. Year 5, 819, good to go. Year 6, 655, good to go. Year 7, 524, good to go. Year 8, okay, that is a difference. Now let's use the logic that why that is a difference. Now, when asset reaches its 7th year closing, it has a WDV of 2097. Now we know that asset not today, but at the end of the 10th year, which is its original useful life, is going to give me a $2,000 of value. So I cannot depreciate my asset further. Why? Because 2,000 is my recoverable value for this asset. I cannot make it 0 today and then record again in the 10th year. So what is my depreciation for the last year? I have a balance of 2097. My maximum WDV for the last year, which is 8th year, can be 2,000. Why? Because this is the value I am going to collect at the end of the 10 year. So what is my maximum depreciation? This is the closing, this is the opening balance. I want 2,000 as a closing balance. So my maximum depreciation for year 8 will be $97. And now this is the effect of your double declining. Why? You applied a lot higher depreciation in the initial year. Let's calculate a simple depreciation for this, and difference will be slightly easy to understand. Suppose you were charging a normal depreciation, not double depreciation. What would have happened? Let's say at the end of year 8, you have a WDV of 2,000. We exactly arrive at the same figure. The impact comes to year 8. What will happen to year 9 and year 10? We will still continue to depreciate the asset. We will still continue to depreciate the asset. Let me change the formulas. I think something has went wrong. All right. At the end of the 10th year, now your book value of your asset is $3,487. Now you go to a market and then you sell the asset for $2,000. That is a loss on sale of asset. We will learn this when we learn the disposal part and how a depreciation loss, everything is accounted for. But just a calculation under a simple depreciation, you just do a base into a rate of depreciation again on the declining balances only. Whereas if it's a 2x depreciation, 1.25, 1.75, you just multiply the depreciation. You have to make sure that your value of your WDV, the closing value, cannot go below the scrap value, because this is the money you are going to collect in future. So in any year, if you feel that after depreciation the value is going down, so you have to stop there and you have to adjust the depreciation for that particular year. Clear है double declining method example 3?
What's the second one in
What's
the
the
Google
second one?
Sheet? Google Sheet.
This is the normal depreciation, normal declining method, not a double declining. This is a normal declining method.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to next concept जो अभी आपने एक question पूछा था, which is a partial year depreciation. So when an asset is placed during the year, the depreciation expense is typically taken only for the portion of the year for which asset is used. For example, if an asset is taken on 1st of July, then only 6 months of depreciation will be used. So this is a general rule. Now every company will have their specific accounting policy just to make the calculation slightly easier, and it's not a material impact. So for example, company can have a policy that if you purchase the asset in the middle of the month, the depreciation will be charged from the beginning of the next month. So suppose you purchase the asset on 26th of February, the depreciation will be starting from 1st of March. It's an accounting policy. There is no material difference because of the 5 days of difference. So if it is not material, auditor will accept it. It's an acceptable accounting policy. But you cannot say that my asset is purchased on 26th of February and I'll start depreciation on 1st of July. That is not acceptable principle. A little bit of adjustment, which is not material, that is still okay. So some companies may choose other specific variations of the asset placed in the service during the year. Half year convention, full year convention अभी छोड़ देंगे. This is done in the regulation section, not in the accounting section. This is IRS Marcus depreciation method of accounting, जहां पर हम लोग half year, mid quarter, mid month ये सारे conventions को use करते हैं. You can use for the accounting purpose only if you are a small taxpayer, you follow a cash basis of accounting or a non-US GAAP basis of accounting, but not if you are following a US GAAP accounting. तो इसको हम regulation section में देखेंगे that how the calculations are taken place. ठीक है, so what I want you to go through again is all the example number 1, 2, 3 straight line method, sum of years, digit method and everything. एक बार 10 मिनट लगा लो, सारे methods देख लो, इसके बाद हम लोग आगे चलते हैं, which is a next concept, disposal of the fixed assets. So over to you.
In example 3, what does the note mean?
This example 3, let's go. Yes,
The fir-
बताइए.
the fir- the first note had the preceding illustration.
आप बताइए, मैं ये ऑलरेडी बोल चुका हूँ. What I said कि this is a double declining method. So you calculate normal depreciation multiply by 2. Let's say if you are asked to calculate 150% of depreciation, then you do a normal depreciation into 1.5, which means a 15% extra. Currently, we are having a 20% extra because it's a double declining. Or let's say they ask you 175% declining method. So you calculate a normal depreciation into 1.75.
What?
Sorry,
I didn't understand.
आप बताओ आप क्या समझे हो पहले.
नहीं समझा हूँ.
So what is normal WDV depreciation first?
Normal depreciation into 2.
नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन का मतलब क्या होता है? इंटू 2 क्यू करने का.
Double declining.
मैंने डबल डिक्लाइनिंग पूछा या नॉर्मल पूछा? नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन क्या है? योर बुक वैल्यू का जो बेस इनटू रेट ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन, दैट इज योर नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन, जो हमने गूगल शीट में यहाँ पर निकाला. योर बेस इज 10,000, 10% इज अ रेट, सो 1,000 इज अ नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन,
Okay.
राइट? हेलो हेलो, राइट रॉन्ग, राइट
Yes.
रॉन्ग. अब इसे आपको डबल डिक्लाइनिंग करना है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा?
Into 2.
इंटू 2. एग्जैक्टली. तो ऊपर वाले एग्जांपल में हमने क्या किया? हमने नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन कैलकुलेट किया, इंटू 2 किया. इफ यू सी, 1,000 के सामने 2,000, एंड आपका जो नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन रहता बुक वैल्यू के बेसिस पे, लेट्स से 8,000 के ऊपर 10%, 800 इंटू 2, 1,600. 6,400 के सामने नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन कितना रहता? 640. बट नाउ यू आर डूइंग इंटू 2, विच इज 1280. सो योर नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन को अगर आप 2 से मल्टीप्लाई करोगे, इट बिकम्स 200% डबल डिक्लाइनिंग डेप्रिसिएशन. अभी ये डबल डिक्लाइनिंग ऐसा कोई मेथड नहीं होता है. दिस इज जस्ट अ एग्जांपल व्हिच बेकर हैज गिवन टू यू. अगर आपको एग्जाम में बोलते हैं इट्स अ 150 और 1.5 टाइम्स डिक्लाइनिंग बैलेंस, तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि यहाँ पर इंस्टेड ऑफ 2 यू विल डू अ 1.5. दिस इज 150%. So you just copy all the year of depreciation. So this is all a 150% of depreciation method. अगर आपको एग्जाम में बोला जाता है 1.75 टाइम्स आपको नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन चार्ज करना है, तो 1.5 की जगह पर हो जाएगा 1.75. ये एग्जांपल में आपको बोला है डबल डिक्लाइनिंग मतलब 200% डेप्रिसिएशन, तो आप क्या करते हो? इनटू 2. सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन द डबल डिक्लाइनिंग परसेंटेजेस व्हिच क्वेश्चन गिव्स यू, अगर आपको वो डबल डिक्लाइनिंग बोलते हैं तो डू अ मल्टीप्लाई बाय 2. सो आपका नॉर्मल परसेंटेज क्या था? 10%. आपने 2 से मल्टीप्लाई किया, इट बिकम्स 20. प्रॉब्लम क्या है पता है? आप हर एक चीज को इंग्लिश में इंटरप्रेट करने का ट्राई कर रहे हो ना, रादर देन गोइंग विद द लॉजिक्स. अब आपका 10% है आपका नॉर्मल रेट, डबल डिक्लाइनिंग बनता है 20%. वाई? यू मल्टीप्लाई विद 2. अगर यही चीज आपका 1.5 टाइम्स बोला है, तो व्हाट इज योर रेट? 10% into 1.5, which is 150% और 15% रेट. अगर आपको बोला गया है 1.75 टाइम्स, तो आपका नॉर्मल रेट है 10 इंटू 1.75, आपका रेट बनेगा 17.5. बट यू डोंट नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑल दिस थिंग्स. आपको बेसिक कैलकुलेशन याद रखना है कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हाउ आई कैन कैलकुलेट नॉर्मल डेप्रिसिएशन. अब मुझे डबल बोला है तो इंटू 2 करूंगा, मुझे 1.5 बोला है तो मैं इंटू 1.5 करूंगा, मुझे 1.75 बोला है तो मैं इंटू 1.75 करूंगा, मुझे 133 बोला है तो मैं इंटू 1.33 करूंगा. Whatever acceleration they give in the equation, you just multiply the normal depreciation with that percentage.
Okay.
ठीक है, और कोई क्वेरी है अभी तक जो हमने किया उसमें?
No.
ठीक है, डिस्पोजल वी आर जस्ट होल्डिंग अ लिटिल बिट. एक और छोटा सा कॉन्सेप्ट है डेप्रिसिएशन का, वी विल कवर दैट फर्स्ट एंड देन मे बी टुमारो वी विल कवर डिस्पोजल प्लस इम्पेयरमेंट एंड दिस चैप्टर विल बी ओवर. नाउ एक है छोटा टॉपिक डिप्लेशन. दिस इज नथिंग बट अ डेप्रिसिएशन ओनली. बट जो आपकी नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज की इंडस्ट्री है, ऑयल गैस टिम्बर मिनरल्स, वहां पर आप डेप्रिसिएशन नहीं बोलते हो, वहां पर आप बोलते हो डिप्लेशन. और जनरली ये इंडस्ट्री में यू कैलकुलेट द डिप्लेशन और अ डेप्रिसिएशन बेस्ड ऑन द यूनिट्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन मेथड. तो मैंने थोड़े टाइम पहले आपको एक एग्जांपल दिया था कि आपने एक टैक्सी परचेस कर ली, लेट्स से 1 लाख किलोमीटर चलेगी फॉर 5 इयर्स। अब फर्स्ट ईयर लेट्स से आपकी टैक्सी चली 8,000 किलोमीटर, तो आपने 8% डिप्रिसिएशन लगाया। सेकंड ईयर में आपकी टैक्सी चली लेट्स से 26,000 किलोमीटर, तो आपने 26% रेट लगाया। थर्ड ईयर में आपकी टैक्सी चली 37,000 किलोमीटर, तो आपने 37% रेट लगाया। तो बेस्ड ऑन द आउटपुट विच इज जनरेटेड, you charge a depletion or a depreciation in this industry। यहाँ पर भी आपका फॉर्मूला सेम है, परचेस कॉस्ट माइनस रेसिडुअल वैल्यू, यू आर गोइंग टू गेट योर बेस, और वो बेस अमाउंट को आप डेप्रिशिएट करोगे ओवर द यूजफुल लाइफ ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट। सो फॉर एग्जांपल आपने एक मिनरल प्रोड्यूस करती हुई एक लेट्स से खाई परचेस कर ली। नाउ दैट इज सच अ बिग वास्ट एसेट, और वो खाई में से आप एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हो कि आपको 1 लाख यूनिट्स ऑफ मिनरल्स मिलने वाले हैं। नाउ लेट्स से आपने जो खाई परचेस कर ली है उसकी कॉस्ट है $10 million। सो $10 million विल बी डेप्रिसिएटेड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम विद अ बेस आउटपुट ऑफ 100,000 ऑफ द मिनरल। तो एक एग्जांपल बनाते हैं एंड लेट्स कंपेयर विद द कार। सो लेट्स से एक है मिनरल का एग्जांपल एंड साथ के साथ एक कार का एग्जांपल बनाते हैं। सबसे पहले आपने एक जगह परचेस की जहां से मिनरल्स मिलने वाला है। लेट्स से द कॉस्ट ऑफ परचेस इज 1 million हम ले लेते हैं, एंड हम कार परचेस की लेट्स से $50,000 की। लेट्स से सैल्वेज हम चाहते हैं कि जब ये हम जगह वापस करेंगे वी गेट $20,000 एज सैल्वेज वैल्यू। कार में वी गेट $2,000। So what is your depreciable base here? Your depreciable base is going to be 9,80,000 and 48,000। अब हम लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, what is your expected output out of this? So let's say mineral में हम लोग बोल रहे हैं कि we are going to sell let's say 1 lakh units of mineral over the next 5 years। And car में हम बोल रहे हैं कि we are going to run let's say 75,000 kilometers in total। This is the units to be produced। So what is my recovery rate? For every unit I produce, I am going to depreciate my asset with $9.80. For every kilometer I drive the car, I am going to depreciate $0.64। Now let's say during the year one, I have produced let's say 35,000 units. Year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Let's say second year I just produced 15,000 units. Year 3 I produced 25,000 units. Let's say year 4 I produced 15,000 units, and last year I produced 10,000 units. Total I hope it matches to 1 lakh unit. So how much depreciation I will charge? So my rate is 9.80 into the units I manufacture. So I'm going to charge ultimately a total depreciation of 9,40,000 across 1 lakh units I produce. But every year my depreciation or a depletion, that it depends on the number of units I produced. Let's say in the same example, number of kilometers. First year I drive the taxi for 20,000 kilometers. Second year 18,000. That's the third year I drive for massive 30,000 kilometers. Fourth year I just drive for 1,000 kilometers. So what is the total till now? 38, 30, 68, 69. And let's say last year I run for 6,000 kilometers. So now what is the depreciation I should charge? 0.64 for each kilometer run. So first year I charge 12,800, second year 11,520, third year 1,900, fourth year only 640, fifth year 3,840. So this is called an output method, and it's the same concept applies for your depletion, where your natural resources are being used. Example एक बार देखते हैं. Let's directly go to the depletion example. So in year one, the Happy Mine Corporation purchased a mineral mine for 3.4 million with removable ore estimated by a geological surveys at 4 million of ton. So you have purchased a mine, it has a cost of 3.4 million, and you expect that 4 million of the output will be produced out of this mine. Now the property has an estimated value of 2 lakh after the ore has been extracted. So everything will be completed. You expect a 200,000 of residual value at the end of the useful life of the property. The company has incurred a 8 lakh of development cost for the mine production. So any cost you incurred before asset is ready to use, it's a capitalized cost. So first of all, we need to identify what is my depreciable base. So let's use one more example here. So this is a book example. So what is my purchase cost? It's 3.4 million. What is the further development I did? 800,000. What is my salvage value? 200,000. So what is my depreciable base? It's 4 million. So 4 million should become my depreciation base. So depletion base is a 4 million. Now what is my output to be expected? It's 4 million. So let's just put 4,000,000, 4,000,000. So what is my recovery rate? So every 1 unit I produce, I'm going to recover a $1 as a depletion cost. So during the year one, company has extracted 1.4 million of the units. So now, oh sorry, 400k of units. So for the first year, my output is 400k. So what is the depletion or a depreciation I should charge? 400 into 1, which is 400,000. So what is the depletion for the first year? It's 400,000. Now यहाँ पर एक point है, how much you should include in the cost of goods sold. This is your homework because आपने inventory का chapter कर दिया है. So now you should know that this is the item you have produced. This is your inventory. You have sold only 3,75,000. So how much should go to the cost of goods sold in your P&L? So this point is your homework. You have to try and calculate this amount. And if you find any difficulties, then first you need to revise your inventory chapter, and then I will help you how the cost of goods sold is created. इसकी एक बार theory देख लेते हैं because practical is done now. Theory will be easy to understand. So what is my depletion base or depreciation base? It's cost minus residual value. We have done the same thing. Cost minus salvage value. It's my depletion or a depreciation base. Now I need to calculate my recovery rate. How recovery rate can be calculated? What is my depreciation depletion base divided by how much units I estimate to recover? I will get a recovery rate per unit, per kilometer, per hour, whatever. And then based on the actual usage, I will apply my recovery rate and I can calculate a depreciation or a depletion to be charged. Clear hai?
What's
Simple
percentage
concept.
depletion?
Sorry, what's?
Percentage depletion
कहाँ पर है?
theory में before calculation. That's here.
आप बताओ, आप पढ़ के बताओ what is that? हमने concept कर लिया है, formulas you know. Now you try to interpret what is percentage depletion. So again, आपका एक section है 179 under IRS that deals with the depletion, and under depletion you are, जैसे कि हमने अभी देखा था, I tell you कि ये particular point हम लोग regulation में करेंगे, which is your half year convention, full year convention. The same way depletions are allowed 100%, even 150 to 170% of the original cost under the US taxation, and that may depend on the actual sales the company is performing. Now see, if you see this line, percentage of depletion can exceed the cost of depletion. तो हो सकता है कि आपका cost है 100 लेकिन आपको government allow कर रही है 125 का depreciation, which is logically not possible, but it is allowed under the regulation purpose. So for a time being इसको छोड़ दो, accounting में this will not be asked, but regulation में when we'll go, we will see how a section 179 depletion affects the all this depreciation and depletion calculations.
Okay.
Challiye, so with this we will call it a day. So in this chapter there are two things are pending. Number one, disposal, and number two, impairment. Before that, I'm giving you one quick homework. So let me add one more sheet. आपको ये एक example solve करके आना है with a journal entry. My focus is more on entries right now. So let's say you have asset you have purchased in year one. Let's say for 200,000. Your useful life is 5 years, and let's make a little bit more complication. You have about, no, let's not make. Entry is my primary focus right now. So let me do this like way. You have a component 1 and you have a component 2. Component 2 is having a value of 1 lakh, again useful life of 5 years, and then you have a total. useful life remains 5 years. So first of all, you prepare the entries for purchase for annual depreciations. आपको ये चीज करके आनी है, because unless you are clear, आपको disposal समझ में नहीं आएगा. What we are going to do, we are going to dispose of the asset at the end of year 3. इसके ऊपर हम कल काम करेंगे, बट दिस इज नॉट योर फोकस एरिया. सो आपको अभी सिर्फ 5 साल की परचेस की एंट्री, 5 साल का डेप्रिसिएशन का एंट्री आपको लिख कर आना है. दैट इज योर होमवर्क. ठीक है. सो आई विल सी यू टुमारो सेम टाइम एंड विल फिनिश ऑफ दिस पीपीएनडी चैप्टर.
Okay.